Have you ever felt like a place was watching you? Not a person, not an animal, but the place itself. Some towns don't just disappear from maps, they disappear from memory. Tonight, you're not just listening to a story, you're stepping into one. Because this is Echoes of the Forgotten, and what I'm about to tell you was never meant to be remembered. This story was pieced together from abandoned journals, broken recordings, and one final message that was never supposed to be heard. Let me ask you something before we begin. If an entire town vanished and no one remembered it ever existed, would you? The road wasn't on any map. Daniel Harper noticed that immediately. He was driving for hours through empty countryside, the kind of road where cell signal dies and the radio only spits out static. He was exhausted, half asleep, when the GPS suddenly recalculated. Turn right in 300 feet. That made no sense. There was no right turn. He had driven this route dozens of times. But there it was. A narrow road, cracked and overgrown, hidden behind leaning trees as if nature itself was trying to cover it up. Daniel hesitated. Then the radio changed. Not static anymore. Voices. Low. Whispering. Speaking a language he didn't recognize, yet somehow understood. His hands turned a wheel before his mind could stop them. And the moment his tires touched that road, the world went silent. No wind, no insects, no engine sound. Just silence. At the end of the road stood a sign, barely visible under rust and moss. It read, "Welcome to Hollow Creek." Hollow Creek looked wrong. The buildings were intact, but empty. Shops with products still on the shelves, cars parked neatly as if their owners had simply stepped away. But there were no people, no birds, no animals, not even footprints. Daniel parked near what looked like a town square. In the center stood a clock tower. The clock was ticking. That was the first sound he heard since entering the town. Tick. Tick, tick. Every clock in Hollow Creek showed the same time, 3:17. Daniel tried his phone. No signal, no emergency calls, no GPS. That's when he noticed something terrifying. The mirrors in the shop windows didn't reflect him properly. His reflection lagged, smiling when he wasn't. Inside the old sheriff's office, Daniel found a journal. The pages were yellowed, trembling in his hands. The first entry read, "If you're reading this, it means Hollow Creek has chosen you." The journal explained everything, or tried to. Hollow Creek wasn't abandoned, it was forgotten on purpose. The town discovered something beneath it, something old, something that fed on memory, identity, and recognition. The more people remembered it, the stronger it became. So the town made a decision. They erased themselves, burned records, destroyed photographs, cut the roads. And when that wasn't enough, they stayed, forever, as food. Daniel dropped the journal when he heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. They looked human at first. Their skin was pale, stretched tight, eyes sunken as if they hadn't slept in decades. They smiled, all of them, at the same time. One of them spoke. "We remembered you." Daniel ran. The town changed as he did. Streets looped bendlessly. Doors led back to the same room. The clock tower chimed, always 3:17. Everywhere he went, the people followed. Not chasing, waiting. They didn't need to hurry. No one ever left Hollow Creek. The tower basement led underground, deep, too deep.
Beneath the town was something vast, a presence, not a shape. It spoke directly into Daniel's mind. To be remembered is to exist. It had fed on Hollow Creek for generations. Now it was hungry again. Daniel understood the choice: stay or erase himself completely. No name, no memory, no trace. The final page of the journal was blank. Waiting. Daniel woke up on the side of a highway, his car running, his phone working. No memory of Hollow Creek. None. Except for one thing. A recording saved on his phone. A message. His own voice. If you're hearing this, don't remember. Don't look it up. Don't say the name. I tried to find Hollow Creek. There's nothing. No records, no maps. But sometimes, late at night, my radio changes on its own, and a voice whispers, "You remembered us." This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Sleep well, and whatever you do, don't remember too much. Ethan Cole worked nights at a small university media archive. Old tapes, unlabeled recordings, voices no one cared about anymore. The kind of place where history goes to be forgotten. One night, Ethan found a tape with no date, no label, just a handwritten note on the box. Do not listen alone. Of course, he did. The tape crackled to life. At first, just static, then breathing, slow, close, and then a voice said, "Ethan, you finally found us." His blood went cold. No one at work knew his name. Ethan stopped the tape. Silence filled the room. Then his computer speakers turned on themselves. The same voice continued, "We've been waiting." The archive lights flickered. Ethan checked the tape again. Different voice now, different accent, same message. The voices weren't recorded once. They were responding. Every tape he played knew his name, knew his childhood nickname, knew things no recording ever should. That's when he realized something terrifying. The voices weren't coming from the tapes. They were using them. Digging through old records, Ethan found references to a failed experiment in the 1970s, a sound-based research project. The goal? To record human consciousness. Not thoughts, not memories, but the presence of a person. The experiment failed. Officially. Unofficially, the researchers discovered something else. Something that lived between frequencies, something that learned voices, learned names, and once it learned you, it followed. The project was shut down. The recordings were buried. But no one destroyed them. They just stopped listening. That night, Ethan didn't sleep, because his apartment wasn't quiet anymore. The radio whispered, the TV murmured, even his phone, powered off, spoke from the table. Always the same phrase, "We hear you." He covered his ears. The voices came from inside his head. They mimicked his own thoughts, finishing his sentences, correcting his memories. And then they started arguing about him, whether he was ready. Ethan found one final tape. The voice on it was terrified, a researcher's confession. "If you can hear this, they've noticed you. There are rules. Never answer them. Never say your name. And whatever you do, never listen to the silence." Silence. That's when they were closest. Ethan realized the voices never spoke when sound was loud. They waited for quiet, for stillness, for listening. Ethan tried to destroy the tapes. They screamed. not from the speakers, from the walls, from the floor, from his own mouth. The last thing he recorded was a message, his voice shaking. If you're hearing this on Echoes of the Forgotten, turn the volume up. They can only move through sound. If you hear your name, don't respond. Some people say this video sounds unusually different late at night, that the silence between my words feels heavy. So before I go tonight, let me say this. If after this video ends, you hear a voice, soft, patient, saying your name, it's already too late. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Thank you for listening, and
When Sarah and Michael moved into the house, they couldn't believe their luck. Cheap price, quiet neighborhood, no history listed. The real estate agent avoided questions. She only said one thing before handing over the keys. Some people say the house pays attention. They laughed. The first week was peaceful. Too peaceful. No creaking, no settling sounds, no nighttime noises. A house that never spoke until it started listening. It began subtly. Cabinet doors left slightly open, lights turned off that were left on. Then came the temperature changes, rooms growing cold when no windows were open, and the feeling, that pressure in the chest, the sensation of being observed, not from a corner, but from the walls themselves. One night, Sarah whispered to Michael, "Do you ever feel like the house knows when we're awake?" The air felt heavier after she said it, as if something had heard. Their neighbor was an old man named Thomas. He never looked directly at the house. When Sarah asked him about it, his face tightened. "That place doesn't haunt people," he said. "It learns them." Thomas explained. Every family that lived there noticed the same thing. The house remembered routines, footsteps, breathing patterns, voices, and then it copied them. Not immediately, only when the family felt safest. Michael heard it first, Sarah's voice calling him from the kitchen, but Sarah was upstairs. The voice wasn't wrong. It was perfect. Same tone, same rhythm, but no emotion. The house began responding to conversations, lights flickering in agreement, doors closing in disagreement, and late at night, soft sounds, like breathing, coming from inside the walls. Sarah installed security cameras. What they saw made them sick. The house moved when they slept, walls subtly shifting, hallways stretching, and audio recordings, whispers repeating their private conversations, word for word, sentence by sentence. The house wasn't alive, it was remembering, and it didn't want them to leave. They tried to escape. The doors wouldn't open. The house replayed their voices, begging them to stay. Thomas was found dead the next morning. His final note read, "It learns faster when you're afraid." Sarah and Michael were never found. The house is still standing. New owners moved in last month. No complaints yet. Just one review online. Lovely home, very quiet. Sometimes it feels like it's listening. So tonight, as this video ends and your room grows silent, listen carefully if your house responds. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Good night, and don't speak too loudly. You never know who's learning. In the outskirts of a forgotten town stood an old radio station, call sign
WLFN 13. It shut down in 1987. No farewell broadcast, no explanation, just silence. Until one night, Lucas Reed, a podcast producer obsessed with lost media, picked up something strange on his receiver. A weak signal, barely audible. A human voice. "This is WLFN. If anyone can hear me, please don't turn this off." The date embedded in the signal read 1987, but the voice was speaking now. Lucas recorded the transmission. When he spoke out loud, the voice answered. Not immediately, but correctly. When Lucas asked a question, the voice responded minutes later, addressing him directly, calling him by name. The broadcaster introduced himself as Arthur Bell, the station's night host. Arthur sounded calm. Too calm. He said the same thing every hour. "We're still on air, and we're not alone anymore." Old newspapers told the story. A storm, a blackout, and a final broadcast. Arthur Bell had locked himself inside the station. Witnesses claimed he was talking to someone who wasn't there. The last official recording ended with Arthur whispering, "It learned my voice." After that night, no bodies were found, just equipment still running, broadcasting. As Lucas listened more, he noticed something wrong. Arthur's tone never changed, never aged, never hesitated, and sometimes the pauses between his words were filled with something else. Breathing, not Arthur's. Lucas isolated the audio, slowed it down. Beneath Arthur's voice was another signal, repeating the same phrase over and over. "Stay on air." Arthur finally explained. The signal wasn't a broadcast, it was a container. Something had come through the airwaves during the storm. Something that needed sound to exist. Silence weakened it. Broadcasting fed it. Arthur stayed on air to protect everyone else, and now he was tired. "You're listening now," Arthur said softly. "That means it hears you too." Lucas tried to shut the signal down. The voice changed. It sounded like Lucas, perfectly, repeating his own words back to him. The final recording Lucas uploaded ended abruptly. No explanation, just one sentence. "It doesn't need a station anymore." Some people say this video has unusual audio artifacts, low frequencies, almost like breathing. So before I end tonight's episode, let me ask you one last thing. You're listening right now, aren't you? Then the signal is still alive. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Thank you for listening, and remember, as long as someone is tuned in, the broadcast never ends.
In 2009, a digital archivist named Noah Hale was hired to restore corrupted surveillance data for a government facility. Thousands of hours of footage, most of it boring, empty hallways, security doors, silent rooms. Until Noah noticed something strange. One camera feed, camera 14, showed movement. A man walking calmly through the hallway. But the system didn't recognize him. No name, no ID tag, no timestamp. Just a label, unregistered presence. Every time Noah paused the footage, the man looked directly at the camera and smiled. Noah searched the employee database. Nothing. Facial recognition returned an error. Not no match, an error, as if the system refused to define him. The strangest part, the man appeared on multiple cameras but never entered or exited a room.
He simply was there, standing, waiting, watching the lens as if he knew someone would eventually notice him. That night, Noah dreamed of the man, still smiling, still waiting. Digging deeper, Noah accessed archived tapes dating back decades. The man was there too. Different cameras, different buildings, different years. Same face, same clothes, same calm expression. He never spoke, never interacted, but he was always positioned where someone would eventually look, like he understood observation. A note buried in a classified report explained it briefly. The subject manifests only when recorded. Awareness strengthens him. The file ended there. No conclusions, no solutions. Noah became obsessed. He began checking reflections, windows, mirrors, dark screens. One night he saw the man standing behind him, but only on his turned-off monitor. When Noah turned around, nothing. The next morning, a new file appeared on his computer, unlabeled, uncreated. It was a video, recorded from Noah's webcam, showing Noah sleeping and standing in the corner of the room. The man, smiling. Noah found one final document, a warning written by a previous archivist. He cannot act unless he is acknowledged. He cannot speak unless someone listens. He cannot exist unless someone records him. The moment someone fully understands him, he no longer needs the camera. Noah tried to delete everything. Files reappeared. Backups restored themselves. The man was no longer smiling. He was impatient. Noah's final recording was uploaded anonymously. No description, no title, just one sentence in the metadata. If you're watching this, he's learned how. Noah was never seen again. No body, no evidence, just empty footage, except for one thing. Sometimes when this video plays, there's a brief frame drop, a shadow where there shouldn't be one. So before this episode ends, let me ask you something. You're listening, you're aware, and now you're part of the record. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Thank you for watching, and remember, some things don't need eyes to see you anymore. They only need you to listen.